Welcome to the Transform Tomorrow Today podcast, a series dedicated to the complex and exciting world of change in organisations. We are your hosts, Linda McLaughlin and Catherine Tano, and are both global experts in organisation development and change management, working across 5 continents. We help organisations navigate the challenges of transformation successfully, using our expertise as consultants and master coaches over many decades.
In this podcast series, we invite leaders who are at the forefront of transformation to share their own stories and reflect on the lessons learned with changemakers like you. Following each interview, we analyze the case and summarize the key messages and takeaways. Welcome to our community of inspiring changemakers, transforming tomorrow today. We are delighted to introduce our guest today, Anna Palm. She is a PCC coach and she is currently a change management and competence leader with IKEA. She's based in Sweden at its headquarters. Anna is also a licensed MBTI practitioner and brings coaching mindset to her role. She has been with IKEA since 2005 and has led many transformations over the period. She says she has a love-hate relationship with the constant change. Her mission in life is to make a difference each and every day. Welcome, Anna.
Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for inviting me. I'm really looking forward to talk to you today and share what we have done at IKEA.
Thanks, Anna. And first, just a little bit about IKEA. Obviously, it's an iconic brand globally and needs very little introduction. But what started as a tiny mail order company in rural Sweden has now become a global home furnishing brand that brings affordability, design and comfort to people everywhere. What people may not realize is that despite its success, IKEA has never moved far from its heritage in rural small land in Sweden. The IKEA promise is to create a better everyday life for people. This means that IKEA is constantly evolving to meet the needs of its expanding customer base, their designers, their leaders, and their team members. In the words of its founder, Ingvar Kamprad, he sums it up really well. He says, most things still remain to be done. A glorious future. Looking forward to our conversation, Anna. So what would be one unique thing that you're doing now in your organization about coaching and change that you are really proud of?
Yeah, I think one part is that when it comes to our range, which is our identity, and we are really taking care of making sure that all our different customer needs is fulfilled without losing their identity. How does chopsticks look at in the IKEA way? And also, I think it's important that we really understand our customer needs when it comes to that. To be able to do that, we of course need to focus on our people because that's where change is happening. It is the people side that we need to focus on. So even if we identify that we need to present our range different, without changing it to meet the customer need, we need to also work with the people for making them understand what is it that we need to change. And also how we can still be confident in how we use our business model, which is built on volumes. And we need to sell volumes in IKEA. And how do we do that? For example, in Malaysia, in Singapore, which is far, far away from Sweden, without losing our identity.
Anna, you are in charge of change management and you have been in charge of change management for many years. What are the main achievements so far? And how do they make a difference in this organization?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Thank you. I think the main difference is that we are giving people and business time. Because we also know when we don't do that things should change from one day to another. And that doesn't make a healthy business, not healthy people either. So I think it's important to really give the time for both and, so to say.
time is one thing. And do you have a few examples maybe of major change you have been accompanying during these years?
I don't know if people out there listening that will probably recognize big companies are doing transformation in one direction and have a tendency to go back and do go back, so to say. And one is how we are organized. We are trying out, for example, to be organized in different home furnishing business areas. Where we put together some areas where we feel like those should belong together. And then realize that doesn't really make sense. So let's split them again. And then we split that. And then we try out that way of working. And then we realize, okay, maybe there was something to gain to really have them together. And for me, that has been here for a while. I can see we go back and forth and we really gain something from every time we do this transformation. So I think both organizational change, but also, of course, business development, what needs to be constant, without losing our business model, of course.
Anna, you've mentioned about people being at the core of all the changes. So what are the implications for your leadership? And have you any particular approach to leader development?
Yeah, we have for sure. We have both. If I start from the beginning, if you are a potential future manager, we have the program for those. When you have been a manager for a while, we have a program for those as well. But then we also are senior leader for other leaders. We also have a program. And then what I, of course, think is most important is that we also have coaching for leaders. When you really realize the power of really listening to people and asking questions is sometimes instead of giving directions. But I think listening is really important when it also comes to transformation.
When we had the preparation session with you, you mentioned that you had internal coaches and facilitators. Can you comment on that? How do you recruit them, train them?
Yeah, and we have all the programs that we offer, specifically when it comes to leadership, is internal. So there is a pool of internal facilitators that are doing that on top of what their daily tasks, say. So no one is hired as a facilitator. It's something that you do on top of. And it is exactly the same for coaches. There's something that we do on top of what we already have as an assignment. So we agree on a coach for 10% approximately when we have got the education from IKEA, which is external, as you know, ICF.
And how many are there of those facilitators and coaches currently?
I think globally, facilitators, I think we are around 250. And coaches, and I would say that I think we have just under 100, but I think there is actually 60 that are certified. And it takes some time to gain first you get your diploma, and then you need to have certain amount of hours to get the certification. So that's this ongoing.
So your facilitators and coaches, if you like, are at the forefront of the change. They're very much partners in transforming the business.
I wouldn't say forefront. I think it's really important that it is the leaders that are in the forefront, because they know the people best that needs to change. But the facilitators are supporting the leaders to be able to do it.
What are the challenges that your leaders face during these times of change with our people?
I think very often when you are appointed as a leader, you're there to lead the business and people. And when we have bigger changes or transformations, you need to take your focus away a bit from the daily business and need to focus on different things. And I think that's the biggest challenge, because you want to focus on the business, of course. That's the reason why we're here, and the people.
And you have a very unique business model with retailers around the world. So how do you make the scalability of those programs everywhere?
That is, of course, a huge challenge when it comes to countries. And, we have factories and retailers that don't speak English. So we have a big challenge and also translate all the necessary trainings that we have, which is, of course, one part is leadership. So that is really important. But then I think for me, traveling around the world and meet all the leaders back in the days, I think it's really important to respect the culture. We are a Swedish company with Swedish values, with Swedish culture. Yes, but you can't apply it 100% in China, for example. So it's about also respect. Yeah, we have this, then that we should deliver, but we also need to also be aware of that there's a slightly different culture in this country.
Very inspiring.
And can you talk to some of the drivers for change in IKEA? Obviously, you have a strong brand, you have a strong business model, but there's a lot of outside drivers there.
Yeah, there is, would I say, two aspects that just pop up into my mind directly. It's, of course, the technical part, which is artificial intelligence that is on top of everyone's mind right now. And then it's also, we have a big blue box on the potato field where we expect our customer to travel to meet us. In that way, we had needed to develop last years, which I think you can recognize that we had went through what we thought was the best way to have several different customer meeting points, small stores, small planning studios, and even bigger stores in cities. So that's how we have tried to be as reachable as possible in what the customer wants. And then, of course, we have the internet as well, where we could shop online, where we're still struggling, I have to admit.
You were also mentioning the digital transformation you have been leading in IKEA for the last 10 years. Can you comment a bit on that?
We started to explore very early what can AI do for us. That once we can see that it's really much about, and so we own the thing supply chain, and you can imagine we have suppliers, we have these different customer meeting points, we have warehouses around the world. How is the easiest way and cheapest, of course, because that's important for us, to get the range from one point to another? And there has the technique really supported us to find that way, because when we started to look into it, we could see that we had a supplier almost next to the store, but we were sending the range to the warehouse kind of 100 kilometers from there and down to the store, because that's where the process. So we have really got supported there, and there is a huge job ongoing in that dimension as well. How can we be better in really take use of the technique that we can nowadays?
And with the focus on tech and digital transformation, how is that affecting your recruitment, for instance?
I have to say that we still want to meet people. And I don't know if it's right or wrong, because I know that other people are really using the technique when it comes to recruitment. What I know, we haven't yet, because we are hiring people, not CV. And you know that anyone can say anything, at least if you should go for an interview for a company and then you go with the company, then you can read the values, the culture, and then you can just use those words. That's not what we look for. We look for people with values so they can really enjoy being part of IKEA. And to find them, we really need to get to know them.
And I guess I was thinking also in my question around skills mix, if the company is growing online and growing, leveraging new business models, are you looking for different qualifications or different backgrounds in people?
Now, for some specific roles, we need to have it. But we also have a very strong belief in that knowledge you can always gain, but you come with capability and motivation. That's personal. Not have capability, more motivation. If you have that, I still think you can learn most. Maybe not to be a sergeant, but at IKEA we don't operate people, so.
And do you have any additional advice for our audience, mainly change makers as you are?
Change only happens when people understand what they need to do different. The easiest thing we can do is to make a change on a paper. But to really make people, first of all, understand the reason behind, feel motivation, and believe, even if they don't like it, because human being doesn't like change, but still feel like there is some kind of motivation to do this. change happens when people know and understand the why and have motivation to do it. Spend less time on paper.
Great advice.
And Anna, I'd love to explore with you for a moment. You know, you are a credentialed ICF coach. And how do you think coaching fits with this world of change and in your role? How do you leverage that?
Oh, thank you for that question. For me, we had a network meeting with coaches for a couple of weeks ago. And I just said that we really need to admire the people that search for coaching, because those are people that are brave enough to look for a change. Because that's what you want. You want to have some kind of change. And therefore, you need coaching. I think that's really important to respect that. And sometimes it's smaller changes that can have a great impact. Sometimes it's bigger changes, but I think that's something that is really important.
So Anna, just to sum up all your rich experience and change, if you were just to pick one word to describe it, what would that be?
Trust. Because you have to trust both in you, in others, and in the business.
Very inspiring words. With that, we give you a special thanks, Anna, for sharing this inspiring story at IKEA. It is great to get insight into how such a large global brand thinks about change and manages change, thanks to people like you internally. Wonderful also to learn how IKEA is leveraging leadership development and people and coaching to rally everyone around the transformation, and how the business model is constantly evolving in response to consumer needs, to challenges as climate and AI and digital transformation coming in. And we will wish you an ongoing success in your own journey as a coach. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
Another very interesting case study, Catherine, and perhaps the first thing that strikes me is the issue of culture and identity at the heart of IKEA's transformation strategy. You know, it started as a Swedish company. It still has a very strong Swedish identity, you know, the Scandi style, the design principles that we would associate with Sweden, and yet it is a worldwide company. And Anna spoke about scaling the concept right around the world, and in a way being able to roll out the change in different geographies with people with different sets of values, and also scaling the product to suit customers around the world. And I thought it was amazing that IKEA were really driving that through their people and through their leaders. It seemed to me that the transformation effort was very much leveraging the ability of leaders at all levels in the organization, in all parts of the organization, to manage that change.
Yeah, that's very inspiring. Also, the fact that their IKEA way is really including the people and placing the people at the core of everything. I would say it looks like IKEA is a people-centric company, and they try to reach some people proximity in everything they do. Anna said, we want to meet people despite the AI techniques, and people, not the CV. So they want the people sharing their value, enjoying IKEA, building an environment where they can speak up. They don't feel alone. So I find this is very powerful as a vision of having the people really at the center of what they do and how they do it. And I agree what you say about the leadership and the trust. The trust issue is really also very central in their change approach, in their scalability, in the way they can manage the headquarters and the local operations, because that might be a big challenge in IKEA, as in many companies, managing the balance between headquarters decision and local operations, keeping the identity of the mother headquarters and including also the respect and the identity of their local field, their local shops, their local operations.
So again, coming back to what Anna described as the drivers for change in IKEA, obviously the importance of leveraging technology and artificial intelligence in all phases of their operation. And, she mentioned that keeping the cost of production and the cost of operation down was important in order to bring good value product to the customer. While they had used technologies extensively in warehousing and distribution and logistics, they were still really very much about putting the human in all of that. The other thing she said that was driving change was the changing habits of customers around the world and maybe the different needs of customers around the world. IKEA traditionally had the big warehouse style shop front on the edge of cities, but now maybe with the green agenda and people wanting smaller, more intimate shops, for instance, that they were now experimenting with smaller shops in more places, creating more accessibility for their products. So interesting mix of drivers.
Yeah, and coming back to the drivers, as you mentioned, the human side of change seems to be their motto, their way of working in terms of leading change. I really like what she said, that change happened only when people understand the reason why and the reason behind the change, and not only the how. So the fact that you need to spend time with people, listen to the customer, listen to their people in the field, which leads us to the coaching culture that is really used as a leverage to make change happen. Listening, questioning sounds to be the key when it comes to transformation. I was also quite amazed to listen that they had a team, an internal team of facilitators and coaches, around 250 for facilitators and 60 coaches. It's an amazing number. And those people are there just to help and support their leaders. So I do think that is quite inspiring for many companies, this focus on business and people, the two together. I'm observing that frequently companies are focusing on business first and they come to people after. So doing the two together is really powerful. What do you think?
Yeah, and going back to those internal facilitators and internal coaches, I get this question from some of my clients, how do we pay and reward our internal coaches and facilitators? And, in IKEA, it's seen as a badge of honor to be selected to serve as an internal coach. And it's part of their day job. They give so many of their hours each week to that activity without expecting extra payment, for instance. And I think, again, that's a symptom of the culture, the people-centric, the culture of maybe giving. Also, what Anna said around their recruitment strategy was really interesting. That a lot of companies, large-scale companies, leverage AI now to do the selection and screening. But she said, we still want to meet the people. And that what's really important, as you mentioned earlier, it's not the CV, but the person they're looking for. Does this person embody the values of IKEA? Do they have the energy? Do they have the fit with the business? And again, that underlines right from the get-go, right from the recruitment stage in people's career paths in IKEA, that it is the person, the whole person.
As a conclusion of what you just said, we can say that the people-centric culture, the coaching culture they have built is really giving them a competitive advantage in those transformations they are leading. And we know from Human Capital Institute survey that people who had a strong coaching culture are twice as much as performing company than other. So we can understand that IKEA is among those. Hopefully they will last as a value for money company for furniture worldwide.
And you mentioned the HCI research there, Catherine. And again, what that study underlines is that 2 out of every 3 transformation programs in major companies fail. So the stakes are high, and investment in change processes and investment in people is certainly the way to go.
Thanks for listening to Transform Tomorrow Today with your host, me, Catherine Dano, and Linda McLachlan. Again, our gratitude to our amazing guests for so generously sharing their transformation story.
Please follow us on @transformtomorrowtoday.podcast and be sure to download our show notes and tips and strategies on our LinkedIn page @transform-tomorrow-today. Let's join together so we can transform tomorrow today.